Welcome back, everybody. This is part 4 of the Algebra 2 Semester 1 review video series where we're going to look at the evens 26 through 48. So we'll get started with 26, which is a factoring problem. When you look at it, we always want to look for a greatest common factor first, which we don't have in this problem. So when there's 3 terms like there is here, we should be thinking 2 binomials. So we're going to go ahead and factor into 2 binomials. The first 2 terms here and here are going to have to multiply to x to the 4th. So that's going to be x squared and x squared. Then we want to take a look at the sign. Plus here tells us the signs are the same. They're both minus. So minus, minus. And then from there we need factors of 16 that are going to combine to negative 17. Well, the possibilities would be 1 and 16, 2 and 8, 4 and 4. Should hopefully be pretty obvious that the 2 that are going to give us negative 17 are 1 and 16. What you would then hopefully recognize is that both of those binomials are difference of squares. So each of them is going to factor into conjugates. This would be x plus 1, x minus 1. And then this one is going to end up being x plus 4, x minus 4. Looking at the answer choices, that's going to correspond with D. Moving on to number 28. This time we have directions to solve. Going back, we have variables in more than one location. So we want to set it equal to 0 and then work to factor. It's already equal to 0. We want to start by looking for a greatest common factor. All I notice is that they all have at least m in common. So we've got m, then you're going to have 3m squared plus 7m minus 6 equals 0. From there, the focus is going to be on factoring the trinomial. So 2 binomials. Again, the 2 values that go here and here have to multiply to 3m squared. That's going to give us 3m and m. The negative here tells us the signs are going to be different. So we've got different signs. One's plus, one's minus. With a 3m and an m, we're going to have to hold off before we can place them. All right, the last 2 values that we're going to look for that are going to go here and here. The first thing they have to do is multiply to that negative 6, which the different signs will give us the negative. So let's think about our possibilities. We could have 1 and 6 or 2 and 3. But really the most important factor is when you multiply those 2 and multiply those 2, you have to add up to this positive 7n. Other little tricks to help you kind of narrow the possibilities. With this 3m here, I can't put any multiples of 3 here. So things like 3, 6, 9. So if it were to be 1 and 6 as my possibilities, the 6 would have to go here, which would give us 18m. The 1 here, which would give us 1. Well, 18 and 1 isn't 7. So that's out. If I use 2 and 3, the 3 has to go here. The 2 has to go here. Well, if you look at that, 3m times 3 is 9m. 2 times m is 2m. As long as this one is negative, I'll get that positive 7. So we're going to end up with a negative here and a positive here. And that's how you would do your factors. This time, though, we weren't just factoring. We were factoring in order to solve and find the solutions. So now we have to identify what value is going to make each factor 0. With m here, it's simply 0. 3m minus 2. I always think about how do I get m by itself? Add 2, divide by 3. Over here, you would subtract 3. So that takes us, we're looking for the answer choices of 0, 2/3, and negative 3. A is not right. B has 0, negative 3, and 2/3. Order's different, but that doesn't matter. So there's the answer. Moving on to number 30. All right, this time it says solve x to the fourth minus 64 equals 0. You might be thinking right now that there's only one term with a variable, so we could add the 64 over. The problem we run into is we don't know how to take a fourth root. So really, the better approach to this problem is to factor the difference of squares. So you're going to get two binomials. The conjugates are going to be x squared plus 8 and x squared minus 8. In this situation, neither one of those will factor anymore. So we're going to go ahead and find our solutions from here. From this factor, we're going to subtract 8 and then square root. Don't forget that plus or minus. Here, we're going to add 8 and square root. Don't forget the plus or minus. We would want to simplify those answer choices, all right? Because if you look, A is close to having this. It's got the plus or minus root 8, but this one's incorrect. So it's not A. B, we don't quite know yet. I mean, it's definitely not C, because this is not going to be 8 and negative 8, or in 8i and negative 8i. And the square root of 8 is not 4, so it can't be this. The only answer that even makes sense is B. Now, just to remind you, if you were going to simplify, the square root of negative 8 would be plus or minus I root 8, but then you'd have to break down 8, 2 times 4, 2 times 2. There's your pair of 2's with the 2 left over. And that's where you're getting 2i root 2. Square root of 8 would break down very similarly without the I in front. So B is in fact the correct answer. All right, take a look at 32. We've got a system of equations here. This time, it's both equations are set up as y equals. This is a perfect setup for substitution. So I'm going to take this expression and plug it in for y. So x squared plus 10x plus 5 equals 3x minus 7. You've got a quadratic with variables in more than one spot. So we want to start by setting it equal to 0. X squared, subtract 3x, which gives us 7x, add 7, which gives us 12. And then we're going to go ahead and factor this. So two binomials. X squared tells me x and x. Positive says the signs are the same. They're going to be positive. And then I need factors of 12, where the outside and the inside add up to 7x. So it's 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4 as our possibilities. Each one is being multiplied by 1x, so it's got to be 3 and 4. So plus 3, plus 4. That's going to give us solutions of negative 3 and negative 4 for x. The problem, though, is asking what are the y coordinates. So you got to be careful, because if you're not careful, you might go ahead and say, oh, negative 3 and 4, C is the answer. That's x. We need to find y. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the bottom equation right here and set it up twice. 3 times something minus 7, and we're going to do it one more time. 3 times something minus 7. First time I'm going to plug in negative 3, then I'm going to plug in negative 4. So negative 9 minus 7 is negative 16, and negative 12 minus 7 is negative 19. So the y values that we are looking for are negative 16 and negative 19, corresponds with D. All right, keep moving. We've got number 34. It's asking which of these functions is equivalent to f of x, which is 1/2 x squared plus 8x plus 11. This is standard form. We're going to have to convert it to HK form. So you find A, B, and C. All right, then you're going to find H using negative B over 2A. So negative 8 over 2 times 1/2 is negative 8. You're going to find K by plugging in. So the value that we're plugging in is negative 8. All right, negative 8 squared, that's 64. Half of 64 is 32. 8 times negative 8 is negative 64 plus 11. You know, and we did talk about when you find k, the first number is always half the second number with opposite signs, and that holds true. So you get negative 32 plus 11, which is negative 21. So now, if you were writing your own equation, a is 1/2, it's x minus h, so that's going to become plus 8, and then plus k would be negative 21. Looking at the answer choices, B is the one that matches. All right, keep going. Let's go 36. 36 is kind of similar to what we just did on 34. The difference is we're trying to find k only, and we're given this what's called intercept form. First step is to put it into standard form simply by distributing. So it's x squared, negative 7x here, positive 3x there, gives us negative 4x, and then that's negative 21. So a is 1, b is negative 4, c is negative 21. Find h using negative b over 2a. So it's negative 4 over 2 times 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. You find k by plugging in, all right? So when we plug in, you got something squared minus 4 times something minus 21. And the value that's being plugged in is 2. 2 squared is 4, minus 8 minus 21. Negative 4 minus 21 is negative 25. The question was to find k. K is negative 25. There's my answer. All right. 38. 38 says, given the function f of x, which is negative x minus 3 quantity squared plus 4, which of the following statements are true? So if we take a look at this, there's a couple different possibilities. It talks about maximum value of either negative 3 or 4. Well, that's going to happen at the vertex. And then it talks about f of x equaling 0 having no real solutions or 2 real solutions. So, I mean, really, you could graph this and come up with your answer. So without even a graphing calculator, let's just think about what the graph of this is going to look like. The negative is a reflection. The minus 3 moves it right 3, and the plus 4 moves it up 4. So if we go right 3 and up 4, there's our vertex. Our parabola is going to open down from there. Well, again, the vertex is 3, 4. The maximum is the 4. So first off, we can eliminate the answer choices that say the maximum is negative 3. Now it just comes down to, is there no real solutions or 2 real solutions? Well, the solutions are the x-intercepts, which there would be 1, 2 x-intercepts. And I didn't draw a very accurate graph, but it's as much as I need to answer the question. D is the answer. All right. You've got the vertex above the x-axis, the parabola opens down, it's going to cross twice. If the point was up here and the parabola was opening up, that would be no solution. Or no real solution, excuse me. All right, number 40. So we did, several of these problems when we were learning the unit. But it says a parabola has a vertex of 2, negative 13, passes through the point 7, negative 3, in basically HK form of the parabola. What is A? You need to know HK is the vertex, X, Y is the additional point. We're going to plug those numbers into this equation. So Y is negative 3 equals, A is what we're trying to find. X is 7 minus H is 2 squared k is negative 13. So we're going to solve that to find a. Okay, so it's just a matter of substitution first. I'm gonna hold off on writing the a. So 7 minus 2 is 5. 5 squared is 25. So this is going to be 25a minus 13. If I then add 13, I get 10 equals 25a. Next, you're going to divide by 25 on both sides. Those are going to cancel. So 10 over 25 would be your answer, but that can be reduced. They're both divisible by 5. So 10 divided by 5 is 2. 25 divided by 5 is 5. 2/5 is the value of a. Okay. Number 42, it says a parabola has x-intercepts of 3 and negative 4, goes through the point 2, 9. Which other point is on the parabola? All right, this kind of becomes a much tougher question. So the x-intercepts, basically you're going to have the form of a parabola that looks like this. X minus p, x minus q. This is called intercept form. Here's your a. X minus p is a factor. X minus q is a factor. The x-intercepts right here are going to help us identify those factors. So it would be x minus 3 in order to get a x-intercept of 3. And it would be x plus 4 to get a x-intercept of negative 4. We would need to know what y was. That's where this other point comes in. So we're going to plug in those numbers for x and y in order to figure out what the a value is. So 9 equals a times 2 minus 3 times 2 plus 4. So 9 equals a. 2 minus 3 is negative 1. 2 plus 4 is 6. So 9 is equal to negative 6a divided by negative 6. All right. This basically gives us negative 3/2. So our equation is y equals negative 3/2 x minus 3 x plus 4. In order for us to figure out which other point is on the curve, what I would do is I would plug in the x values until you find the one that gives you the y value that's there. So if I start out, x being negative 2, you're going to get negative 5 here, you're going to get 2 here, and then we would be multiplying by negative 3/2. Negative 10 times negative 3/2 is not negative 2. So that's out. Okay. If you plug in 4, you're going to have negative 3/2. 4 minus 3 is 1. 4 plus 4 is 8. Well, if I multiply negative 3/2 by 8, I'm not going to get negative 2. So that's out. So then I'm going to go over here and try negative 3. So you'd have negative 3/2. All right, negative 3 minus 3 is negative 6. Negative 3 plus 4 is 1. So if I were to multiply these, all right, 2 goes into 6 3 times. So basically negative 3 times negative 3, which is 9. That's not right. Basically, that leaves us with 15, or D is the only option. But to verify that, we're going to have negative 3/2. All right, and if we plug in 1 minus 3 is negative 2. And then 1 plus 4 is 5. So a negative times a negative is a positive. All right, the 3 times 2, or the 2 on the bottom and the 2 you're multiplying by will cancel. 3 times 5 is 15. That's the answer. So, kind of a tough question. Once you came up with your equation, I guess you could graph it and try to see which of these points would then be on your graph. But you're not always able to see that too easily. All right, 44. So when I look at 44, compare the two functions represented below. Which of the following is true? If you look at the answer choices, it's talking about the vertex being the same, the minimum values being the same axis of symmetry, or the minimum value of f of x is less than the minimum value of g of x. Now that might seem kind of like a hard problem, but they actually give us an easy way to identify the information we need. It's all based on the vertex. So this has the vertex -2, and then we're down 1, 2, 3, 4. So -2, -4. Whereas for this one, we're right 2, down 1. So the vertex would be, +2, -1. Well, do they have the same vertex? No. Is the minimum value of f the same as the minimum value of g? Well, -4 is not the same as -1, so that's wrong. They have the same axis of symmetry. Well, that's going to come from the h coordinate, or the h value. -2 is not the same as 2, so that's wrong. Leaving us with D, the minimum value of f of x is less than the minimum value of g of x. -4 is less than -1. There's the answer. All right, moving on to 46. All right, so for 46, you could do this on a calculator. I'm not going to, just because I think this type of problem, when you're adding and subtracting, is easier done without a calculator. So I'm trying to figure out which of these is true. The first one says n minus O. Well, n is a 2x1 matrix. O is 2x2. I cannot add or subtract those together. Different dimensions. So that's out. If I look at B, we're saying that m plus n is these. Well, m and n have different dimensions. You can't add it. Okay? You can only add when the dimensions are the same. So then I look over here to m plus O. Well, m is 2x2, O is 2x2. I can add those. The question is, when I do add them, is this what I'm going to get? -1 plus 20, that's 19. 3 plus 12 is 15. And again, what I'm doing is I'm adding the terms that are in the same location. So -1 and 20. All right, then I'm looking at 3 and 12. And those line up so far to give me 15. The next two I would look at would be 5 and -15. Well, 5 and -15 should be -10. So that's wrong. All right, so that leaves us with D as the only process, only answer by process of elimination. Well, again, if I'm doing O minus M, all right, it's 20 minus -1, which means you would add them to get 21. It's 12 minus 3 to get 9. It's -15 minus 5 to get -20, and 32 minus -4, you're going to add to get 36. So that's correct. Right? And then that leaves us with 48 as the last one. So this wants us to find the product. Here is where I would use the graphing calculator. All right, so we're doing matrices. So let's go ahead and let's see. I'm going to, again, clear the memory out. So second plus 7, 1, 2. All right, and whenever we do matrices, we're going to go second matrix. We have to start by editing. So the first matrix is 2 by 2. All right, let me go back to the problem. It's -5, 2, 1, -3. So -5, 2, 1, -3. Just remember, when the number is negative, you have to use the negative in the parentheses. All right, I need to enter my next matrix. So second matrix, go to edit, go down to the second one. That's also 2 by 2. All right, this time the entries are -6, 5, and 1, 0. So -6, 5, 1, 0. You always want to double check that you put the numbers in correctly. Okay, I feel like we're good. We're going to get out of here. All right, the problem wanted us to multiply matrix X by Y. So the first one we put in by the second. And the order matters. It does matter. It makes a difference. So on the calculator, we're going to this time go matrix. We're going to select the first one times second matrix, and we're just going to select the second. Hit enter, and that's the answer I'm looking for. 32, negative 25, negative 9.5. And that corresponds with B as our answer choice. Guys, please use these videos to help you prepare for the final, because you're going to see stuff that's similar, and I hope you found it helpful.